Okay, so back to Daniel chapter 6. Notice the smile. Okay, here we go. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. This oftentimes creates a problem, believe it or not. Some people are great individuals until you give them a position of authority. Like you're in charge of watching the bananas. It goes to their head. I'm in charge of the bananas. You see that in school when a kid is made a crossing guard. Oh, you stop right there. Okay, you come. Okay. Authority just seems to ruin some people. You can't make them in charge of nothing without it going to their head. So Darius took 120 princes, elevated them to be over a whole province. So the Media-Persian Empire took over after Babylon. They conquered Babylon, which is over here. The Persians and the Medes joined together to make a joint army, and they conquered quite a bit of territory. I mean, conquered Egypt and, conquered all over the place. So it's called the Media-Persian Empire. This is the second great empire. Oh, there we go. There we go. Thank you. They divided it up into 120 provinces and put a prince over each one. And over these three presidents, of whom Daniel was the first. Now, Daniel's got to be close to 90 years old by now. I mentioned the other night that he was, 80-something. No, I'm sorry, that was wrong about that. He was about 17 when he went to Babylon. And he'd been there 70 years when the Persians took over, so he's at least 87 to 90 years of age. Of whom Daniel was the first. So here's this nearly 90-year-old man who's in charge of all these other 120 newly elected princes, who definitely have an ego problem, as we'll see in a minute. That the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him. That's a great question to ask yourself. Go look in the mirror and say, do I have an excellent spirit? Do the people I work with think I have an excellent spirit? Are you fun to be around? Who are you when you're in charge of something especially? Does it go to your head? I think we should all search our hearts and say, Lord, I'd like to have an excellent spirit. I want to be happy, cheerful, friendly, trustworthy, loyal, kind, obedient, thrifty, brave, clean, reverent. Okay, humble, yeah. And the kings thought to set him over the whole realm. So then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion, no fault, forasmuch as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. The guy was faithful, even though he was in a place he didn't want to be, working for somebody he didn't want to work for, had been castrated, and had been there for like 70 years now. He was faithful. He said, Lord, I don't want this. This isn't what I planned for my life, but okay, I'm going to serve you anyway.
3 people in the Bible?
Only 3 people in the Bible. Daniel, Joseph, Jesus. It might have been a couple more, but major characters, those are the ones that nothing bad is said about them. Job, be the 4th one. Then it said these men, we shall not find any occasion against Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. This is a common tactic that scoffers and skeptics and atheists have. If they want to get you, and they wanted to get him, they'll find something, or they'll make something up. So they said, we can't find anything on Daniel, so let's find something about his law and the way he serves his God. Ah, I got it. He prays 3 times a day. Let's make it illegal to pray. This is what they're going to do. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king, and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom. Is that true? No. You're missing like the main one, like, Daniel. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors, the princes, the counselors, the captains, have consulted together. They are lying through their teeth. They left out the main one. To establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree, and that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee. In other words, nobody can pray to God except to you for the next 30 days. Or king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. Now it's interesting, King James uses the phrase den of lions. That is very different than what the other Bible versions use, like the International Children's Bible. Anyone who doesn't obey will be thrown into the lion's den. What's the difference? Well, here's a lion's den, but there's no lion's home. This is a den of lions, because the lions are home. I don't mind walking into a lion's den, but I don't want to get into a den of lions. But these new Bible perversions constantly call it the lion's den. No, it's a den of lions. NIV, the non-inspired version, the lion's den. Guys, but they have to change something to get that copyright, to get their money. That's all goes back to the money. Okay, now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing that it be not changed. according to the law of the Medes and Persians. Now these princes, these newly elected princes, leaders of the districts there, they knew how to use the law to their advantage. And boy, if we got some Democrats that do that, they'll figure out some way to pass some kind of law to their advantage, like you have to buy health insurance. What a stupid law. Absolute moron. Why don't we have government-sponsored car care, house care, hair care? Let the government buy your hairspray from now on, and your shampoo. Anyway, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. The Medes, they had a stupid law that said, once you pass a law, you can't change it. I think that's dumb, but that was their law. Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. He went to his head, ego, oh, cool law. They got to pray to me for 30 days. Okay. He did not know these guys were setting him up to get Daniel. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house and went into hiding. No. And his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did aforetime. He didn't start a new habit just to agitate him. He had already been doing this. He'd already been praying 3 times a day. He just continued with his habit for 90 years of praying 3 times a day. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying. Oh, come on. They found him praying? They were looking to catch this. This was what they did all this for. And making his supplication before God. So they went in. Aha, there he is. 3 witnesses. Let's go tell the king we saw him praying. Breaking the law. Okay. I hope they find me praying someday. And if that's against the law, too bad. Okay. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree? Now they're going to rub it right back in his face. That every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions, not the lion's den. The king answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which altereth not. Then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, I like that, that Daniel, every time they do that, like that Hovind guy, they do that with me all the time, trying to, I agitate him. And really, guys, you atheists and morons that watch us, you should come down and meet me. I'll take you to lunch. I'm really a nice guy. Nick, you've known me for how long now? Quite a while? Yeah. Yeah, I get along with most everybody. Even some of the atheists that come by. We have them come by, give them a tour of the place. Yeah, come on down. That Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity, they're still talking about him as being a foreigner. He's been there probably longer than they've been alive. He's been there for, what, 75 years. They probably were born during that time. He regardeth not thee, O king. Now, this is a flat lie. It's not that he doesn't regard the king. He's disregarding the king's law because it violates his obligation to his God. And if you have an obligation to God, that comes before an obligation to the law. And if there's a conflict, and there normally isn't, but if there is, you obey God rather than men. That's what we learned in the book of Acts. The disciples said that. We ought to obey God rather than man. O king, nor the decree which thou hast signed. Now it's true he is disregarding the decree, but he's not disregarding the king. But maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself. He said, man, they tricked me. And these politicians all the time are getting tricked by other politicians. And set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, Now, O king, know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is, that no decree nor statute which the king establisheth may be changed. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. Notice it's thy God. He wasn't his God yet. Daniel, your God's going to deliver you. He'd probably heard about the other fiery furnace, the guys being delivered out of the fiery furnace under his grandpa, or under the previous kingdom, Nebuchadnezzar. He heard about those stories. God's going to deliver you. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, the king sealing it with his own signet. Now, since the stone is laid on the den, and later they come up out of the den, the assumption is the rock is horizontal to the ground, and the den is straight down. It's not a cave in the wall, it's a hole in the ground. And sealed it with his own signet. Now, what this means, his signet, his ring would have a fancy symbol on it, only for the king. They would put a glob of wax, put the rock there, put a glob of wax on it, stick the ring in there, and make the seal, so you can tell if it's ever been tampered with or broken. That's how they would seal stuff all the time. that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. He couldn't sleep. He's worried about Daniel. And it was his fault. And some of you politicians and judges and lawyers ought to be really worried about what God's going to do to you someday because of the way you are harming other people by your stupid decisions and judgments. You can make a simple 5-minute decision. Like, I was in jail with one guy. He got drunk, and he walked into the neighbor's house, somebody's house, thinking it was some friend of his house. He's in the wrong house. And he's at the sink fixing something, and a neighbor came in. "What are you doing?" And he took off. He's drunk or on drugs or something. Took off running and stole something from the house on the way. I forget, $50 worth of something. Well, he ended up dropping that and ran off. They caught him, and he went to jail. He went to trial, and the judge gave him 20 years. I was in jail with him while they were going back and forth to court deciding. He should have got, he was just in jail for like 7 months. He said, "Oh, look, I'll pay the guy back. I'm sorry. I was hired on drugs." He's still in 20-year sentence. Go to Lone Star, 1776, and go get Sean Stuller. He was in jail with me for months. Came to our Bible study all the time. And write to Sean and support him and help him. I can't, because I can't have contact with felons, but you should. But that was dumb. And that judge that gave him 20 years is going to answer to God for that. Taking 20 years out of that young man's life. He was like 28 years old when this happened. That's evil. They ought to reopen that case and let the guy go home. He's already served 3 years for going in the wrong house and didn't do anybody any harm at all. Anyway, his sleep went from him, and I hope your sleep goes from you, you judges that make these cruel decisions and that follow the New World Order plans instead of God's plans. Okay, there we go. Notice the smile. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste unto the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice. Lament is sad. Unto Daniel. And the king spake and said, "O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions?" Then said Daniel unto the king, "O king, live forever. My God has sent his angel, and hath shut the lions' mouths, that they have not hurt me. Forasmuch as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt." King, God knows I didn't do anything wrong to him, and you know I didn't do anything wrong to you. And the king knew that. And you folks that put me in jail, you know I didn't break any laws. Go to KentHovinIsInnocent.com. Watch video number 3. I didn't break any law, not even the stupid structuring law. Even though the law is dumb, I didn't break it. But somebody will answer to God someday for all that. Okay, verse 23. Then was the king exceeding glad for him. I mean, he's been in the den of lions all night. Really glad this guy's alive. And commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So again, it must be vertical. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found on him, because he believed in his God. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives. Now, I'm not saying this is right. I'm not saying it's good or bad. This is what they did. This is historical. We would say that's evil to do that. Well, this is a Persian king, and we not only throwing the man in there, throwing the whole family in there. No. That's what they did, okay? And the lions had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces, or ever they came at the bottom of the den. You ever seen a lion grab an animal and shake it back and forth? You know, broke all their bones. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Those guys, all 120 of those princes, had collusion together to try to trap Daniel. One of them should have had a brain in his head, said, "You know, guys, this isn't right. We're telling the king that all the people agree, and it's not true. Daniel didn't agree. And we're passing this law only to catch Daniel." How many laws have been passed only to harm or hurt one person or one group of people? Many of them. Look what they did to the poor Indians 150 years ago in this country. Passed some of the dumbest laws to take away their land.
And African Americans.
And African Americans, yeah, slavery, okay. These guys, they were hanging around the wrong people. Have you ever done something dumb because you were with somebody who was dumb? You wouldn't have done it on your own. But because you are with somebody who's dumb, you did it. You've been there, done that, okay? Okay, yeah. Companion of fool shall be destroyed. The Bible says, "Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein." Whoso passeth the law to throw Daniel in the lion's den shall get thrown in himself. He that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. Daniel 6. Then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and steadfast forever, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. So because of Daniel's steadfastness, standing up for what's right, being willing to go into the lion's den of lions, the gospel was spread to the whole kingdom. You may have to stand up for your rights. You may have to stand up for what you believe. You may have to stand up for the Lord under some adversarial conditions. I think it's coming soon. Stand tall anyway. And the gospel will be spread because of your stand. He delivereth, the king talking here, and rescueth. He worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in earth, who hath delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. So the Persian Empire, the Media-Persian Empire, joined together, conquered Babylon, covered much of the world for a couple hundred years. Now this guy Darius, Cyrus and Darius, all these people, these kings, were strongly influenced by this Daniel guy. Enough so that he really started, Persian King Cyrus the Great, started the world's first charter of human rights. He freed the slaves. He let the Jews go back and rebuild their temple, rebuild their wall. 3 books in the Bible center around this guy's reign, this Persian Empire. The book of Ezra, the book of Nehemiah, where they rebuilt the wall, and the book of Esther. She was forced to marry one of these Persian kings. And she delivered her people from destruction because of her level of influence. She won a beauty contest. She didn't want to win it. She didn't want to enter it. She did, and she got married to the Persian king because of her good looks. But she said, okay, God, this is where you got me. I'll use my talents for you. And she influenced him to let her people be spared. Read the book of Esther. So you can study about the rise of Persia and all the different Persian kings and how long they ruled the world, Darius and Cyrus. So Daniel was in this time frame. He was in Babylon for 70 years. Now, tonight, we're going to get into Daniel chapter 7 about what's coming in the future that I covered in my book. What on earth is about to happen? We are headed for some interesting times. Tune in tonight. Thank you so much. Bye.